Our special guest today is Fernando Quinde. Fernando, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. And he's not going to be a special guest very long because he's joining the Heritage Singers, and you're going to be seeing a lot of him in the future shows. A few weeks ago, I heard his testimony, and I was so impressed that I invited him to join the Heritage Singers. And after you hear his testimony, I know that you'll say along with me, God still answers prayer. Why don't you share with us your testimony, Fernando?
Well, it's been about almost 3.5 years now since I've had Guillain-Barré syndrome. And it was a muscle weakening disease that I had. And in the period of about 3 weeks, I had lost almost all my weight. I lost all my strength and was unable to walk. And I remember during this time, went to go see many doctors, and a lot of the doctors didn't know what I had. Things started to get real serious, and I finally went to go see a neurologist in Los Angeles, California, who gave me a myogram test. And that's a test which tests the reflexes of the nerves in your muscles. And I can still remember when I sat in his office after that test, and he told me that I had Guillain-Barré syndrome. I didn't know how to quite accept it. In fact, I didn't even know what it was. And then he went on to tell me that there was no cure for the disease. He told me that all the nerves in my muscles and my entire body had died. Well, after he told me that, I became afraid for myself. But what scared me most was what he went on to tell me, because he told me that I could very easily move to the muscles in my lungs, and in most cases inhibit your breathing and die. And that was the hardest part to accept. Well, I went home that night, and as I was lying in bed, I began to think about my life and which way it was going, and I had to face the facts and reality that I could very easily die. I became very lonely, very depressed, and closed myself off from the rest of the world, including God. I remember that night something happened that I think medically can't be explained. Because I woke up the next day and I sat up, stood up, and I began to walk. And I believe with all my heart that was a miracle of God. As I think back on that time now, I can remember how during the saddest moments of my life, I never once turned to Jesus Christ for help. Thought I could do it on my own. But I was totally wrong. In spite of the fact that I closed the door to Jesus Christ, he was still there outside, knocking, waiting with his arms open wide. It really is hard to understand for me how the Lord could heal me and save me without me even ever deserving it. But I believe God has a purpose in my life. And I think that as I realize that now, I can look back on what has happened to me and gain some strength. This song which I'm about to do is entitled Jesus Loves a Loser. And I wrote it, in fact, it was the first song I've ever written. And it talks about myself. It talks about basically being a loser. The words are simple, the song is simple, but the message is very strong. I'd like for you to listen to it. Are you growing sad and weary? Do you feel like giving in? Are the roads in life too narrow? Are you buried under sin? Did you ever feel like losing? Don't give up. Jesus loves you anyway. By the power in His blood, died for you, and He washed you clean from sin. Yes, Jesus loves a loser, 'cause He makes the loser win. Do you feel the world's against you? And have you cried out all your pain? And has that empty feeling left you? And will you ever be the same? Did you ever feel like losing? Well, don't give up. Jesus loves you anyway. By the power in His blood, He died for you, and He washed you clean from sin. Yes, Jesus loves a loser. Yes, Jesus loves a loser. Oh, yes, Jesus loves a loser. 'Cause He makes the loser win. Makes him win.